A left-leaning progressive learned an important lesson after becoming an accidental landlord, and the tenant abused the situation. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of an advice column, a financial advice column in Slate magazine. Now, here's the interesting thing about this sort of situation, okay? We have a person, and from reading the letter, the question, it seems like that person is more left-leaning, more progressive, and, they're the kind of person who thinks that most landlords are evil, greedy, selfish people, okay? And then they actually became a landlord themselves, and wow, this tenant gave them a lesson in what really happens to landlords and why landlords act the way they do. Okay, so I tell everybody, I used to be a lot more, liberal, a lot more progressive. But as I got older, as I had more experience in life, as people used and abused me, things changed. My mentality changed, and I opened my mind up to more ideas. And that's why I'm so conservative right now. Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know about you, okay? When you started off as a landlord, were you more idealistic? Did you believe that, hey, people are going to be good as long as I'm a good person, and nobody's ever going to use and abuse me? Well, I learned quickly that people will, do everything they can to screw you over, and then they will play the victim, okay? They will play the victim. They would bankrupt you in order to get, whatever they want. And that's why, as a landlord, you have to be fair, right? But you have to be firm. You have to be strict on your rules, and you can't make any exceptions, okay? All right, so this article is coming from Slate.com, and it says, "I never thought I'd be an evil landlord, but here we are. This tenant is forcing my hand." Yeah, okay, I'm sure a lot of landlords had a much better demeanor before they became landlords. But anyway, let's get into this letter, and I'll let you know what I think as I read it. Dear Paydirt, the previous owner of my house had 3 rental units on the property: the basement, the pool house, and the converted detached garage. Only the garage apartment still had a tenant, a little old lady named Clara. I didn't want to be a landlord, but I felt bad about turning an old lady out, since she has lived there for over 6 years and works retail. So I took on the lease when I bought the property. I told Clara I would be cutting her rent in half, essentially covering only utilities, so she could save up to leave. I gave Clara a year. It was all legal. So here's this guy, okay, or I don't know if it's a guy, but here's this person, right? And they bought a house, right? And the house had a tenant already living on the property, okay? So they became essentially an accidental landlord, and they're like, okay, well, this person is a little old lady. She's just working retail. She doesn't have a great job or anything. And here's the first mistake you make, right? You're like, okay, this person they were already capable of paying their rent, whatever the rent was before, and then you cut it in half? Why? Okay? Their reasoning is, well, that'll give you the opportunity to save up money so that you can move out. Well, here's the problem, okay? And this is the problem with renters in general, okay? The reason they're renters is because a lot of them aren't financially the best, okay? So if you cut her rent, suddenly she's just going to put that money elsewhere. She's not going to be saving it so that she can move out. She's just going to be, spending it on other things instead of the rent now. So you're just really just screwing yourself over. If you were smart and if you're in a state that allows it, and this lady, if she's on a month-to-month lease, what you should have done is gave her the required notice, whatever that might be it 30, 60, 90 days, whatever, right? And said, hey, we're terminating the lease, within this much time, and then you have to be gone. But you didn't do that. You were like, oh, I'm going to give her time to save up, and listen, man, that's her problem, okay? Her finding a new place is her problem, not yours. And this, you basically made this your personal thing. Oh, I'm going to help this lady, and you're going to get screwed. And people watching this video are going to see how you're going to get screwed here in just a second. Then COVID happened. Clara has been working full time, and I am at the end of my rope. I hate the hassle of having a tenant. Clara calls me all the time if the slightest thing happens, not enough water pressure, and turns around expecting more slack. Rent is a week late because she took off work to care for a sick grandkid. Her kids are something else. Her daughter flipped me off because I stopped letting her and her kids have access to my pool because I don't want to deal with the liability. Her son blocked my car with his truck and cursed me out when I went to Clara's and woke him up. The lease allows overnight guests but no parking on the property. Clara is always sorry. So, yeah, you bought a house with a pool and, her kids are mad because they can't use the pool anymore. They don't own the house, okay? They don't live there. So, now they're blocking you in your own driveway. Why are they even parked in your driveway? They're not, she's not following the rules. She has house guests over there all the time. It's annoying. I understand you not wanting to be a landlord, but you took on this situation when you started, and you should have realized these are the things that you're going to have to deal with. And unfortunately, she's the kind of tenant who is bothering you about, hey, I got a light bulb out. Oh, the toilet's clogged. Come over here and fix it. Oh, the water pressure's, there are tenants like that, but you didn't think about that before you took on this kind of situation, and that's your own fault. I just want this over. The lease is up in April. I asked Clara if she had been looking for a new place. She told me she has no money and needs an extension. I asked if she was kidding. She made the excuse about my kids need, and I cut her off. She had a sweetheart deal and over 2 years to save up. She cried. So yeah, you didn't even want to be a landlord. You told her to save up money. You cut her rent in half, and she didn't save anything. Nothing at all. You let her end up staying in here for 2 years, and you're absolutely sick of it. And see, this is the problem. When you give them an inch, they take a mile, okay? And now you've got this lady in your house. You're not making any money off of this. You said right there, the only thing that her rent covered was just basically the utilities. So for the last 2 years, you've been basically paying for her to stay in your house. And the only thing she had to pay for was utilities. This is ridiculous, okay? Now, what you need to do is, I would go down, I would get myself, talk to an eviction attorney, right? And start working with them in order to get her out as soon as possible. All right, you've already wasted 2 years. You didn't even make any money off of this. And, you tried to be nice, and now you feel like a fool. And that's exactly what happens. I don't want to make little old ladies cry, but I want my time to be mine, and I am tired of this. My lawyer told me I was legally cleared, but I need to prepare for the eviction process. I like Clara, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. My girlfriend told me to write Clara a check for moving costs and be done. That's legally okay, but I genuinely worry about her. What should I do? Not an evil landlord, I swear. Okay, so it looks like you do have a lawyer. That's a good thing, okay? But, now you're talking about cutting her a check. Now, I don't know where you're located. So if you're in California and the eviction process is a very long process, then maybe cutting her a check would be a better idea in that sort of situation, right? Than taking her to court and trying to get her out. But, honestly, if they're talking about, well, the check is going to have to be more money than you have, then it might be better to go through the eviction process. I mean, you've already screwed yourself over in so many ways. If you had just filed the paperwork immediately a couple of years ago, then maybe you would have her out by now. But unfortunately, you had to wait all the way through that whole eviction moratorium, and you ended up with her stuck in there, not paying anything or only covering the bare minimum. And, she's paying late, so that because she's not working on top of that. I mean, come on, this is a bad tenant. It doesn't matter if she looks like a friendly old lady or not. She is a bad tenant. okay? And you got screwed over by it. So now you're worried about people perceiving you as being an evil landlord because you're evicting her. No, you're not a bad landlord, okay? Not in my opinion. You're just a person who learned an important lesson that, hey, landlords are not bad people. All we're trying to do is we want control of our properties and we want to be making money, okay? And we don't think that we should have to pay to be affordable housing providers and homeless shelters to every random person on the street. So yeah, take that lesson. If you decide you don't want to be a landlord ever again, then that's probably for the better for you, okay?